Jim, can I pick on you then very briefly about the work that you're doing in the media? You go on GB News, you go Talk TV, you're on a lot of media organisations, and sometimes you have quite a radical twist on this. And I wonder if you could just give people a brief overview.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for the invite, John. I think I've got no notes. I'll try and keep this brief. The thing about going on TV and radio, you pay to speak, so you tend to sort of rabbit on a lot longer. First and foremost, you guys, somebody mentioned you're in a war. You are, but the good news is you're winning. Okay, take solace in your winning. When I say you're winning, you're beating those that are against. You know the words, the deniers. Don't think you're not for 1 second. The imprint is there, and I know it in absolute terms in terms of going on TV and radio, this sort of thing, and meeting these guys. Okay, so a little bit of background first of all. I'm a meteorologist, so I'm right from front line. I've been doing it for donkey's years, ex-Royal Navy. I know what I'm talking about when I confront these people who are deniers on TV particularly. So 3 times with Farage, twice with Mogg, a couple of times with Tice before he ran away. Now, some people would argue, what you're doing going into the lion's den. Why are you even making yourself what's the word here? You know what I'm trying to say. There's a little bit of an argument there in terms of whether I should or whether I shouldn't. I did put it out on Twitter, and the majority said go and do it, so I decided to go and do it. I get paid for it, so that's one thing. I'll take some money from thank you very much. Why not? Why not? So look, in terms of when I say I know what I'm talking about, it's not necessarily through qualification, it's more through experience. We've all got experiences. When I say you win the war, we're actually losing the other war. So just a brass tacks, we're talking about weather actually. And weather is one of it's probably the most important subject in terms of the effects and impacts on your lives by nothing else, which is why I wrote the first book, Whether or Not, the personal commercial impacts of weather and climate. And that is all about, this is why I can talk authoritatively about it, and I don't just go and talk about climate, by the way. I go, one of the past things to be, you guys are front line, many of you. I'm a kind of spy, if that makes sense. I can go in and sneak around a little bit and confront these people in a slightly different way. But that's one of my passes, to actually get in there, talking about, as I will on GB News at 7:05 tomorrow morning, I'll be just talking about weather and maybe floods that are occurring in Europe. So I can then drop in words like climate change, etc., where it's applicable, not all the time. And then, of late I wrote a second book. This one you don't really want to know about, but it's Surviving Extreme Weather, which is all about the Armageddon bit where you get caught in the wildfire and the rest of it, with Michael Hawke, who's a survivalist in the United States, he's a Democrat, and that gives you a platform. It gives you a platform when you write these things to be able to go on and have an authority to be able to talk about these things. And every time you do this, you come up against. Okay, so I'm going to mention GB News, I'm going to mention Talk TV in particular, but I also got LBC and Sky News and other places talking, because they want you as much as you want them, if that makes sense. They've got to fill gaps, particularly in election times, you've got to be there to oppose this guy over here, whether it be Farage or whoever else. And do you know what, when I go in there, I think to myself, I'm going to be talking climate to these guys. Who knows more about this subject than him or me? And I'm thinking it's me. So I can go in quite confident, quite composed, and have a dingbat or two on TV, and often come out of it having scored points. All right, points don't win prizes in this case, but it's a different way of doing things. So, and I push the agenda, and this is the point I'm now going to make. I push the agenda, so to get on the Jeremy Vine show, etc., to get one of the keys to get your message across is to slightly come off what you might call the centrist line. It's a complicated subject, is climate change. It really is. And you'll be amazed how many people, especially the younger generation, who don't quite get it, who don't quite understand it, who don't quite want to sort of tread that rocky path, if you like, that means you can't do this or you can't do that. Look, I don't say revolution, I say evolution. Why? Because it's a softer way, it's a softer approach. You guys might go in there with a, you know, a machete in terms of your excuses and rhymes and march the streets and get arrested, etc. I kind of do it in a different way, and I try to sort of bend minds, and even if I'm drip, sometimes that drip works, if you see what I'm trying to say to a GB audience. Yes, I get flat, yes, I get death threats. I get all of that, okay, because you expect it, and if you expect it, it doesn't worry you so much, and that's the truth. So I can go in there and I can be what I am. So what I'm trying to say to you here is step to the side slightly and be a little bit sort of, in my world anyway, be a little bit controversial in terms of saying what I'm going to say. And that is, and this is why I got on the Jeremy Vine show, I got on GB News saying it, I got on Talk TV saying it, because I stepped out and I said climate denial should be made a criminal offence. Yeah. Okay? For the reasons that and go on, the next one is, we've got 5 Reform MPs in Parliament, and my view is, and if they hold climate denial views, they should be suspended from Parliament. That's what should happen. So these are quite strong things. They're quite strong sort of statements that need to be said. Why? Because it moves the agenda. And it's kind of poison to them to a certain degree. But what it actually does is it gets you onto TV, it gets you onto radio, it gets you into these places. So I'm not soft. I can be soft. I can be. I can go on there and talk about pretty weather that we're going to get for the next 7 days. There you go, there's your weather forecast. You're going to love the weather for the next 7 days, not what we've had for the last couple necessarily. Okay, I can do that. And then I can move it and talk about maybe the floods that are going to happen in Europe in the next 24, 36, 48 hours, and talk then about 7% more water vapour in the atmosphere leading to these things because of climate change. And by the way, this is aware. You do get attacked personally. You do. Even on TV, it happened yesterday. All right, 2 presenters, both of them climate deniers. What's a climate denier, they said. So I explained what a climate denier was. Are you a climate denier? I said to the guy. He didn't answer, because he can't answer. Because he is a denier, but he won't say it. It's an uncomfortable world for them, and a very uncomfortable world. Sometimes I go with other comrades. Donica's stood at the back, not sat at the back even. You can wave, he's there. Okay, we've been on the same platform together, believe it or not, once or twice, and it's great when you get that because it's almost a free hit, if you see what I'm trying to say. So that's what we're trying to do. It is a bit like being a spy in these places. And that includes the Murdoch building in the other side of London. All of this, you know, probably the worst of the worst. No, not the worst of the worst. That's the wrong thing. What's she called in Talk TV? Julie Hartley-Brewer. Yeah, several times with her. Christ, she doesn't let me speak. It's very, very difficult, but you get used to it. I'm going to quit there. I might come back later, but that's what I wanted to say to you. Just step out of that a little bit. Not necessarily go to jail, but you know what I'm trying to say. That's what I do in terms of what I'm trying to achieve on the other side. Okay.